Week 3 is upon us, and the Lions are heading to M&T Bank Stadium to take on the Ravens, and I am scared. I don't want to play the Ravens. Lamar, Derrick Henry, scariest backfield in football. And then on defense, Nate Wiggins, Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton. The Lions are going to be in for it. We all remember the past 2 times the Lions played the Ravens under Dan Campbell. The first time, of course, the Lions curse, Justin Tucker. And then the second time, a huge blowout in Baltimore. Both these teams are 1-1. Both of them had big disappointing losses week 1 and then had huge blowout wins week 2. And the more and more I analyze this game, the more and more I believe the Lions have a real shot at winning, which would be huge to take down one of the AFC's best teams because Dan Campbell hasn't fared very well against them in the past. 0-2 against the Bills, 0-2 against the Ravens, but 1-0 against the Chiefs without Chris Jones, and that rematch is week 6 this season, Sunday Night Football.
Starting out with the Ravens offense against Kelvin Shepard's defense, the Ravens are one of the scariest offenses in the NFL and were only held to 20 or less points 3 times last season, and that was against the Steelers, Eagles, and Chiefs defenses, the best in the NFL. Additionally, last season, Baltimore's offense was held to 25 or less points 6 times. And of those 6 games, they lost every single one of them. So if Detroit can hold the Ravens offense to 25 or less points, statistically, they should win the game. In the backfield, Derrick Henry, of course, is one of their strongest weapons. He's huge, takes multiple people to tackle him, extremely fast, explosive. In week 1 against the Bills, had 169 yards, 2 touchdowns on only 18 rushes. It's still unexplainable how the Bills won that game when the Ravens were running all over them. Then last week against Cleveland, Henry only had 23 yards rushing on 11 attempts. But to no surprise, the Ravens still stunted on the Browns as Lamar threw 4 touchdowns. With this absolute unit Detroit's defense is going up against, I wonder what Kelvin Shepard is prepping and telling the team this week. I loved his energy last week and then during the game, and I imagine the 2 big things he's trying to hit is stop the run and get Lamar Jackson to throw the ball. It's so important the Lions force Lamar Jackson to throw the ball because since the beginning of last season, Lamar has taken more than 4 seconds to pass on more than 20% of his dropbacks. That's where he kills you when the play breaks down and then he finds Zay Flowers open in space for a 40-yard gain. I worry a little bit about the Lions defense getting pressure on Lamar Jackson. Aiden Hutchinson is back, leads the team with 9 pressures. However, I don't think through the first 2 games he's been terrorizing the offense. He did have that amazing hurdle on the lineman last week. That was crazy. Muhammad and Davenport both did get home against Caleb Williams. We'll see how they fare against the Ravens offensive line. However, I would just love to see Aiden Hutchinson turn it up on Monday night and be a game breaker. That's where the Ravens will really struggle. You saw it last week with Myles Garrett. He destroyed the Ravens offense, taking down Derrick Henry in the run game, keeping Lamar Jackson in the pocket, sacking him, putting pressure on him, and the Lions could really use that. Ravens are going to want to run the ball. I imagine the first play of the game offensively for the Ravens will be a Derrick Henry run, and that play will dictate how the game will go out. Hopefully the Lions blow them up. But their offense is going to want to run play action. If the Lions can take away the run, they will be in good shape. Week 1 against Josh Jacobs, they held him to 66 yards on 19 attempts for 3.5 a pop. That's pretty good for Josh Jacobs. Swift had 63 yards on 12 attempts, a few big runs, but I don't think the Lions' defensive game plan was to stop the run. I don't think that was their highest priority. Again, the Lions are going to be putting a lot of defenders at the defensive line of scrimmage. Against the run, they're going to try to collapse the run lane. Against the pass, you're going to see a lot of blitzes. Branch had 2 rushes last week for 2 pressures, which is huge. He's almost like the Lions version of Kyle Hamilton. Can line up anywhere, play anywhere, do anything. I imagine the Lions will blitz on 3rd and long, a lot in the red zone. We'll see if Kelvin Shepard can time up his blitzes effectively. I imagine there'll be plays where Anzalone and Campbell will drop into zone to spy Lamar Jackson, pick up Henry or Andrews, while the outside DBs are in man as the Lions continue to run man the most in the league, picking right where they left off from last year. The defense is going to do everything they can to crash the pocket and get Lamar Jackson to get rid of the ball. Then you'll see the Ravens offense do these quick outs to Flowers, who's very fast and evasive. But the Lions have done well against quick passes against the Bears and Packers. Any quick out was instantly met with a tackle for a negative gain or only a few yards. The Ravens are going to score points. We'll see if the Lions can mitigate it. The playmakers are going to come up huge. Branch was big last week, a tackle for loss and a forced fumble. Derrick Henry has fumbled in the first 2 games, and the Ravens like to shoot themselves in the foot, so we'll see and hope if that can continue. I love DJ Reader and Tyleik Williams in the middle stopping the run. The Lions, again, stop the run, get Lamar Jackson to throw the ball. Tyleik Williams has been great, and 2 pass deflections were huge last week. If he can come up with another one, an offense only gets to run so many plays, that would be huge. Switching sides of the field, John Morton's offense going up against Zach Orr's defense. One thing I'm really excited about for the Lions is they put a lot on tape against the Bears, so the Ravens during practice this week have a lot to account for. Jameson Williams, deep ball. They're looking at that for sure. That's going to hold the safeties accountable. They're going to have to respect that game, play deeper, open up some space, especially Kyle Hamilton, who they like to move around. They like to blitz with him, show pressure with him. It's also going to be very important that when Goff drops back to hit that deep ball, even if they don't connect, it's okay. It reminds the safeties that that threat is there and opens up the field, that the Lions' offensive line can protect Goff, giving Jabo enough time to get downfield. And I think the offensive line will. Against the Bears, the Lions' offensive line was phenomenal. I know the Lions' offense struggled against Green Bay, but I believe that was just first game jitters, and they had a lot of misassignments on offense and defense. I don't think you're going to see that on Monday night. Tate Ratledge specifically played very well against the Bears. He's looking like he's going to be a star for the Lions offensive line. Detroit is definitely going to want to get St. Brown going again. Goff and his connection is unmatched. Inside, you'll probably see Kyle Hamilton or Marlon Humphrey lined up across from St. Brown. They're both great in coverage. However, St. Brown is too good at separating, and even when the coverage is tight, Goff, his placement, and St. Brown's catching ability, they find a way to move the chains. And that connection is going to have to be there. When the Ravens rush 4, I'm not as worried about them getting pressure and getting home. However, they blitz a lot, and when they do, they get home. And Goff is going to need somebody to get the ball out quick to, whether it's St. Brown or dumping it off to Gibbs. They're going to be ready. That's how teams kind of attack this Ravens defense, especially Buffalo. Quick screens, quick outs, and I believe Detroit's offensive skill players are good enough to be successful with that when the Ravens are showing blitz. Because we all know Goff is exceptional at stepping up to the line of scrimmage, analyzing the defense, and calling the play. Another thing I want to call out is the Lions' run game. We all know they want to get the play action going, because the Ravens secondary is very talented, but with play action and Jameson Williams' deep threat, that's going to open a lot of space for this offense. And I think the Lions are going to be able to run the ball. After watching Buffalo run the ball on the Ravens, I know it was week 1, and again, teams aren't their full potential yet. But Buffalo was able to open up some big run lanes for James Cook. He only had 44 yards on only 13 attempts, averaging almost 3.5, which is pretty successful. Additionally, Cook hauled in all of his targets for 5 catches and 58 yards. Look to see a lot of Lions receptions out of the backfield. But I believe the Lions can block as well as the Buffalo offense can, and I just kept imagining if Gibbs was hitting those gaps and not James Cook, I believe Gibbs would have been very successful, and I think he is good for a big game against this Ravens defense. I'm extremely nervous when it comes to picking a winner for this game. I'm an unbiased sports analyst. I'm a diehard Lions fan, but I also really like the Ravens, and they are the extreme favorites to win this game. I'm going to roll with the Lions, not just because I'm a homer, but because I believe after watching these two teams play through 2 weeks, I believe the Lions can win this thing. I believe they'll be able to run the ball, get the play action going, the connection between St. Brown and Goff, the defense worrying about Jameson Williams. And defensively, I think the Lions have enough playmakers to battle the Ravens offense. And I say battle because the Ravens are going to score. Their offense is too good. My final score prediction, Lions win 30-27. I believe Gibbs will have a big game. Derrick Henry will have a big game. Lamar will probably run for a lot of yards because I feel like the Lions defense usually struggles against rushing quarterbacks. And I'm thinking if Detroit cannot turn the ball over offensively and force one turnover defensively, and the Ravens, again, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's coaching, their environment. There's something about them. They usually shoot themselves in the foot. If they can force one turnover defensively and not offensively, I think they win that game. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.